ladies and gentlemen. Hello, this is Goodeye. Jester Matters. The live thing was a little too late for a lot of people, unless they're in Europe and Japan. Anyway, I was going to decide to record this thing on my OBS thing. This camera's software isn't the best. Now, if you hear some high pitch stuff in the background, that's ultra low frequency, oddly enough, and I hear that in my ear all the time. I thought it was tinnitus, and now I'm realizing the camera's picking up. Is that fucking insane? Yeah. But I'd be insane if I didn't have it recorded right now. So that's a weird thing. There's literally ultra low frequency being recorded on my camera lately, and that's what I notice. Now sometimes the trouble is it will record some background stuff, like the fan is stuff whistling, but that's a lot different. Actually, the fan does a nasty echo shit. That's what it really. This is ultra low frequency. I don't know what from. Maybe it's on surveillance, but it possibly is. But that's the sort of shit in the back. It must be quite a mic on it. My ear picks that shit up really heavily. It's like I'm a receiver for this sort of thing. It's a pain in the ass, but or I'm actually targeted. I thought the TI shit was over with, but yeah, that's ultra low frequency. Can't do anything about it. Even soundproof Booth probably wouldn't have stopped that one. So, what can you do, right? It's a crapshoot. I'm recording this for the webcast too, so you might not hear it on the webcast aspect. I don't know. I'll have to figure that out. I'm not sure if that's on the same recording gizmo or whatever. I'll take a look. Or I'll listen to a little bit of it. The camera thing certainly does pick it up. Yeah, so whether I am or not targeted at the moment, the fact is people are, and the fact that anyone defends espionage is disgusting. I saw someone like Joe Rogan the other day doing that to Mike Baker. I say, don't watch any of his shit. He's a CIA propagandist. He says he's ex-CIA, but there's no such thing as ex-CIA per se. Maybe the legal team, maybe the legal people, like Bob Barr. But even there, you kind of go, would he revert back? I mean, you guys seemed very genuine about hating the Patriot Act and stuff like that. Which is also an important question. Why is no one talking about the Patriot Act? It's a Democratic, even Tulsi Gabbard does not bring up the Patriot Act. Andrew Yang doesn't bring up the Patriot Act. Even Marianne Williamson doesn't bring up the Patriot Act. I guess she doesn't have a reading in her crystals. And she's the least poisoned of them all, Marianne Williamson. I mean, she hasn't been in office at all, and so far she doesn't seem to have any lobby or anything. I mean, she just maybe wants to. I don't know. She's apparently a little bit of a religious freak about things, but rather harmless compared to the others. I think Yang's possibly in with the tech industry in a way that he wants to promote AI more, and he does it with an underhanded method by offering people free money, or something like that. He seems to have an angle. And it becomes clear too. I mean, when they jump to that racism thing, so with Trump. I mean, Trump's not a racist. He's an asshole, but he's not a racist. I mean, he knows how to play with the subconscious racist, the so the socialist mentality. He really knows how to play that game, play with those idiots. And to that extent, I kind of respect it. I mean, he's got that clever situation. He, he's got a clever type of. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe that clever's not the word for it. I'm not sure he's cunning. He's not slimy enough. It just It's just a good thing he doesn't have any charm. He's be very dangerous with charm, I think. Well, everyone's dangerous with charm, but to an extent. Oh, I don't have it. Well, I do. I do a certain guile in the major people, but I try not to use it. Um, um, yeah, I'm not in the full Black Jester garb. This is still the Black Jester Matters. I am the Black Jester, Gulak Budai, but I mean, I'm sick today, but I've been testing a lot of this shit lately in the OBS and stuff. I'm trying to set things up to work on float and stuff. So I decided to. So I didn't have time to throw the garb on and stuff. Just my regular inside clothing. Swift, the laundry day look. So Hong Kong is really looking nice and revolutionary. Luckily, it's probably a little harder for them to get tanks over there. So clearly, but, I think we should probably give them give them our the U.S. should give them the U.S. Constitution and the amendments tailored to their geographic situation because they're kind of municipalized. So I mean, states would just become boroughs, I guess, and constituent congressional constituencies would be like uh, wards, I guess. A city level constituency. But basically, you could do that. And that's what I was really realizing it probably would be tolerable if when the United States went to Afghanistan and stuff like that, they left their constitution behind, with just adapting that part of the states and the electoral college to suit the names of places there and the population enumeration there, and then just leave them with the U.S. system. That would be sending. That way you can say, "Let's we did bring American values there," and then they can deal with the freedom and liberty as they would, and you do that again and again and again. That would make more sense than what they actually do, and that's just they leave them with some sort of ridiculous parliamentarian system, strictly parliamentarianism. That's not American. It's Canadian. It's English. They probably left them with an English civil service too. Civil service. Civil service. Start lisping occasionally. I get called a lisp to be clear. Because that's wrong. I don't even call bi's queer. Well, some people call it queer, I guess. What weird fucking. That was what Matt was pissed off about. Because, queers are usually sexually active and high level, and no one will give them fucking anything. No one will give them a lousy hand job. And he's getting fired, I guess. That's what they say. Bought out, I guess. They're trying to help him save a little face. I think that's what they're doing. And Vox is trying to save a lot of face. And Well, the high-pitched noise is horrifying. Imagine that you're probably hearing it on the video or the audio recording. I don't know if it's equivocal, but no, it's how I prove it. I mean, imagine that jammed right into your ear. That's exactly what I get. It's jammed right into my ear. That was my tinnitus originally. Just because it's on the video now, I know it's really ELF. But I don't know why they bother. For surveillance and harassment. ELF still. I mean, doesn't make sense. Liberty activist, right? A potential libertarian candidate of Vancouver East. Who knows what else they think. Of course, I have to get on the ballot, which means I need one helper to witness all the signatures I get. I get 100 signatures. Yeah, I guess 100 signatures. In a little riding, 25 citywide was a pain in the ass. That was alone, of course. I'm hoping to get help out here in Vancouver. People with wheels wouldn't be hurt bad either. I need. It's something that's almost impossible to do on your own. The major parties with who have seat holders and stuff, they have the numbers in their own ridings, so they usually have at least 250 members to have a constituency association. I think that's the number they have to have. They have to have 250 members nationwide to have a party. But usually, I mean, they'll get a constituency association loaded with 100 people, and 100 people already be signing it. So they have the signatures by the time they're nominated and approved as candidates. Me, on the other hand, I don't, because I'm with the Libertarian Party. I stand for principle, and it's a lot harder that way. Which means that they're telling me, even though I have a right to vote for whoever I want, I can't actually vote for whoever I want, because I am whoever I want, or another libertarian if they bother to run here. But I live here, so I try to run. I try to get on the ballot anyway. I guess it counts as running still, because let's say fundraise while you're not exactly approved as a candidate by the elections Canada. You're still collecting money, which I don't think is right. I mean, if I haven't filed my papers, I should be able to. Technically speaking, I mean, I wouldn't really be under their jurisdiction. I still get the cough. Maybe more rum or something. Make sure this illness of mine doesn't come back. So it got away. I think there's some sort of bacteria climbing up my throat and into my tongue. There was some sort of burning sensation. I put the rum was working. Rum for the tummy tum, huh? So, yeah, so yeah, freedom, liberty, that shit. We need more of that everywhere. I mean, whether it's I guess someone like Vermin Supreme or Mash or something running for the Libertarian Party and next time. Well, I kind of hope. I find a little bit of a problem when people sitting in one office run for another office and stuff like that and don't resign. Well, even if they resign, they're not keeping with their contract of the people who voted for them. That's completely wrong. And that's another problem. That's another strike on Tulsi Gabbard's on the side. She's like a climber in a sense. Society climbs up to this office, to this office, to this office, and she doesn't stick with any of it. And she's pretty much been a pro politician for all her life. She's had that one medic position, and in the in the part of the military that you usually join because you hoping they don't go out anywhere. They're just apt. I mean, if you're a pacifist, you probably want to. If you're going to do anything, you're going to be not just in the National Guard, which shouldn't actually exist, or and things like medic or hospital worker, or that is, I mean, not a medic or sous chef or something like that. So, sous chef make shoes and sauces and stuff. So, yeah, let's see, so what should I go on then with? Well, Epstein's kind of beating a dead horse with talking about Epstein and strangulation, alleged strangulation. But I guess it's like 75% strangulation, 25% possible suicide. um, the guy doesn't seem like a guy who quits. You know, that's the thing. He's a. He seems to be like a guy. I mean, the way he. I mean, you don't end up with. I mean, the small-town pedophiles even don't quit like that. I mean, they'll go to court, they'll defend themselves, they'll even try to sell it as a sexual preference. They don't tend to. They don't tend to give in like that. Um, and especially a billionaire like that, financier, that sort of guy. I'm highly easily self-justified, but also those that's an A-type personality thing. It's not just a common sociopath. He's also an A-type personality, and no, it's just doesn't seem likely. And by the way, hangings usually break those things in older people who are less fit than he is too. Have things like osteoporosis and stuff like that. That's also important to keep in mind. Uh, it's also possible it's a little bullshit and he's just being protected as a witness because they think someone would kill him. It's safer to have them think he's dead. So it's a possibility. I don't like talking about this. What's insane is like, I mean, one of us ends up like tracing back to a pizzeria where people got their airline tickets for the Lolita Express. Yeah, sure, it wasn't a basement, but in a sense, this is sort of Pizzagate. I mean, basically, it's everything encompassing Pizzagate aside from the pizza part. So, and now we also had the Lyme season, the government ticks come out, MSN, everybody saying it's true. I mean, that's some crazy shit. And that's suggesting that these, I mean, dismissive, being dismissive about conspiracy theory is probably dangerous. I mean, it's weird. I mean, some things are bizarre, like aliens, interdimensional aliens, and gay frogs in the water. Although it's an entertaining way of expressing these, I guess, sort of. Well, they're talking about pardon me. belcher, a scratcher, a dandy. Wait a minute. So yeah, so we got that, we got that, we got that. We got one less pedophile in the world, but of course, you know, if he is dead, but we also don't have we also don't have him talking about other pedophiles, which I mean, really, I mean, you're gonna go down with other pedophiles if that's the case. And hell, I'm pretty sure Clinton will squeal the moment he's taken in too. I mean, so they probably should watch it, and they should probably make sure he doesn't die either. Um, I mean, what if there's one guy that only these people know, and he's going around killing them? That's also a possibility. I mean, it starts with Epstein, and maybe the guy goes after Clinton, or his wife goes after. He can't be compelled to speak against his wife, but he can. Maybe you think a woman can't be a pedophile? Yeah, you're wrong. Although hasn't been exactly brought up on the manifest, so has she? But it's kind of weird. Well, it seems like a major boys' club thing, oddly enough. I mean, that's just. I wonder if they found any boys in that associated with it. I mean, I know there's a general idea that they care about the males who get affected by this stuff, or females that get affected by this stuff. That's why we won't be hearing much about priests in a while, even if it didn't happen. I mean, the Emirates have a point about that to some extent, and you know, to some extent, we do have a feeling that men should fight back and women should not have to take that shit and not be inflicted by that shit. It's it's a fairer sex thing. Uh, you wouldn't. It's more understood. Understood. Like I mean, who really gets? I mean, I think you know if Don Lemon was accused of forcing a guy over a table and jamming his dick in his ass, I mean, by force, then we'd probably be a little more sympathetic to the situation. This bartender pitching because the guy asked him, "Do you like dick or do you like cock?" The only people who should be upset about that question are the bisexuals out there. I mean, that to assume the guy doesn't like both dick and pussy. I mean, what's a dick or cock? Yeah, he said, "Do you like DRP?" Or I think that's just them cleaning up the language because they don't want to. Listen, I don't care. Don't fucking care. I'm thinking of even setting up the monetization thing to see if they can demonetize because of the language, because of this Victorian bullshit that they cram down YouTube and other places, even like Mixer. Twitch has thoughts on there, so it's not. But the speech is all Victorian. It's really confusing there. I mean, but eventually the thoughts are going to get it too, because that's the way things go. We should always remember this thing. I think the right wing censorship becomes a little less insufferable because opinions and jokes don't tend to get affected by that. Porn and video games do, and well, that sort of speech does. Porn and video game speech, which bothers me too because I play violent video games and I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I don't think it causes anyone to kill. Like David Cross says, what were the video games Hitler played? You know, that was when David Cross was hilarious, and he made a great point there. Um, I just heard he's not hilarious anymore. I don't know if he's not hilarious because I haven't seen his actual work recently. They say, I mean, some people have this attitude that somebody, if you're not doing enough shows a day or night, uh, it's just you're being lazy as a comic or something. And I think sometimes they just don't pay you enough to do too many shows or enough shows or something like that. That's a fact. Some of the cheapest people are people who run comedy rooms and comedy venues and things like that. It's true. I mean, it's horrifying, and even if you're a name or something, they'll try to low blow you as a not in the demographic and stuff like that, and try to get you cheaper on that level. And it's a load of crap, a load of bullshit. That's why it's sometimes hard for me to say support your local comedy club or something like that, because, well, they don't support me enough. Why the fuck do I care? You know, I have to look out for number one when it goes down to it, and that's just. I mean, I got some friends that might get supported. Actually, no, I'm not sure that a lot of them get supported either. A lot of them are underpaid, under backed, and stuff like that. It's uh, it's a shame. It's a shameful situation. Install Dissenter indeed. I'm Dissenter keeps on saying reinstall Dissenter, and then sends you to a download page that doesn't exist. I gotta fix that little problem. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of neat, this Dissenter thing, because it just occurred to me that you don't even need to log into YouTube or any of these BitChute or anything like that to comment on a video and watch it, because you can watch the video because they're public, and you can comment on it using Dissenter. Although I recommend you follow me on float.app, and follow me on BitChute, and possibly even YouTube, just because it probably would piss them off if you do, or somebody eventually would piss them off. And follow. See, when when assholes like that don't really want you in the party, but they keep the invitation open. It's like that a backhanded compliment of invitations. They want you there, but they want you to shop. It's best to be there and comment as much as possible. That's why I wouldn't completely forego Twitter. And I'm insistent that, too many people are silent, but people say, what were the little guys being knocked off? Well, no one's ever helping me get the word out about my fucking lockout. I mean, really, people say that, bring that up. Tell them they're bullshitters. How many little guys are they naming out there that are going to get blocked out of Twitter, or their video, off the video channel, well, off the video platform and shit like that? And they're not naming names about that. They're just saying, well, the little guys suffer too. Oh yeah, wow, you care about the little guys? Can you name any of them? I mean, really, that's bullshit. I mean, some aren't necessarily little guys too, because we might go by subscribers and stuff like that, and we might notice that they're getting more views and they have subscribers, because some people are bookmarking and commenting on Dissenter, or thumbing up on Dissenter and stuff like that, because it's a whole different situation now too. I mean, it doesn't go down to simply just clicks and subscriptions and logged in accounts. I mean, it's not like people are going to private videos or anything. But so that's an important notion to consider too. So, yeah, and YouTube's starting to prop up channels again. That's what I was thought. People like PewDiePie were too, really just propped up. Had some sort of corporate backing in the background and stuff like that, and shit like that, and just to show that the monetization thing is a career path and shit like that. It was a common thing to happen. It happened in the start time, and it was done better before, and more honestly before. Right now, they're just trying to deal with the damage of the Voxpocalypse. But the only way to do that is to just liberalize the speech thing and not be Victorian. It is Victorian. It's like Christian rights shit. I mean, the way they ban language. I mean, sure, there are hate terms they call it banned, but really it's just potty mouth shit is banned too. I mean, it's like anything that's just a slur. It's just anything that's a dirty word, dirty words. Anything that George Carlin would have announced, things that you couldn't say on radio. Things you couldn't say on radio were duplicated tenfold, and now it's things you can't say on YouTube. That's what they say anyway. I don't know. I haven't ad-worded myself yet. I'd like to test that out. I won't put any ads on my website, though. That's for sure. I'll probably end it as soon as possible because I feel they owe me because they refused to pay me $100 20 years ago, and over a false premise that they could tell I was clicking my links, which was bullshit. I mean, nah, that ain't thing. They claim they have some sort of proprietary technology that they wouldn't say. I mean, like, for someone to say, they're either lying about proprietary technology or they don't actually own the technology and someone else created it and they're stealing it. That's how I see it anyway. I don't think proprietary technology is true or it's stolen. There's something dishonest about it. But to know exactly, I mean, back then it was like dial-up stuff, and a lot of people had the same IPs. It's less of that now, but it was then. It was weird. Even then, they could have deducted every similar IP or something like that. And usually you grew by using word of mouth and stuff like that. So it meant people in your own neighborhood and town would know about your website, for starters. So they would have a similar gateway and shit like that. There's something with decentralization. I was remembering about. There's a thing that happened in the past. It was somewhat like, well, networks are like decentralized things too, actually. But there was a central rule factor. I mean, like on basic tenants and products and stuff like that. They flowed out from the center into the local markets and stuff like that. That's when TV wasn't so horrible. One network didn't own most of the, or one person didn't own most of the local affiliates. Talk about something that should have broken up. It's amazing. They're talking about breaking up Google, but Google doesn't have half the monopoly that Warner Brothers and Disney have. But Disney and Warner Brothers are basically buying up all the networks. Disney is now ABC, Fox, and Warner Brothers is the rest of them except NBC. Eventually, one of them is going to buy NBC, and there's just going to be two networks. And now we're down to three networks. Basically, ABC, NBC, and CBS again, with their affiliate companies. Fox News is about to get woke too at some point too. It's a game that National Socialist companies like Disney like to promote. And oddly enough, that's what Disney was. It was a National Socialist company originally. Nazis were very affectionate with Walt Disney. Until I named the bad guys from WW2. Well, fuck it. I don't know why people clean up their language. They get demonetized anyway. And Tim Pool's always saying we're going to demonetize anyway, but he's saying, oh, I shouldn't say that word. I'm like, fuck that shit. Just say it. I mean, if you're going to go by tell potential donors that you're gonna be demonetized. You may as well go full out and balls out in the language because I mean it might as well sound like the worst rap song. I mean it there's no point in just cleaning up the fucking language on their fucking channel if you're gonna be demonetized anyway because someone flags you over some stupid bullshit. And by the way, you can remind everyone that it's anti-LGBT to flag my videos because I'm the B there and I'm the most marginalized letter in the LGBT community. But yeah, they just skip over that B and then just focus on the T afterwards. It's hated. Ooh, it's hated. If you get a hard on for more than one gender, you're an outcast there. Probably because we're a lot of. I think there's a tendency of bisexuals to be very individualistic, and transsexuals seem to be highly conservative usually. That's what I've seen anyway. I mean, like even anti-abortion conservative. I mean, possibly not anti-gay conservative, but certainly anti-abortion conservative. Yeah, I mean, it was think that well, gay, you gotta be anti-abortion. No, no, that's not necessarily true. No. Some of them are quite Christian on that. Some of them won't even get married because they believe that Matthew 19 thing. Not everyone's set up for marriage, so it doesn't really necessarily condemn them. Uh, it just says, yeah, it's like it doesn't. There's none of that. God hates you shit in the New Testament. Aside from I don't think Paul necessarily belongs in the Bible, in the New Testament, personally. Uh, there's some nice stories in there, and he's the guy who was in jail with Saint Stephen, but he wasn't, you know, or not Stephen, sorry, um, Saint Peter. Some of get names Pishta and Ishvan used in Hungary. Um, so so yeah, so Matthew's certainly someone you listen to, and Mark, and you know, someone was saying this Timothy quote in the Bible is anti-gay, but it wasn't anti-gay. It was just putting out the basic logic about marriage. Two genders exist, and eggs need to be fertilized by semen, that sort of thing, and plugs and sockets. And kids are the light of life, and to turn on that light, you got to plug something in, and plug it in the right spot. So, an asshole's not exactly a light socket. Um, it might be a good time, but it ain't a light socket. It's a good way to assert your dominance in the relationship. I'm not against that. Not against any of that, really. I think, I actually think homosexuality, full-on homosexuality, is a way God said is like a failsafe in for overpopulation, which is why we shouldn't have fertility sciences. I have a huge problem with the fertility science shit. That whole surrogacy and stuff, that just goes against the whole premise. I mean, if you if gays want to do anything, they should fight that sort of thing. They should fight that sort of thing in their communities and convince Christians that at that point that it's the failsafe on population control. It's natural population control. They don't have kids, so things start lowering, and it does actually happen that way because as city density increases, as well as murder and violence, of course, which is the negative side of things. Homosexuality also increases. They did this test with rats in a cage, in a tight cage, at one point. That's also the thing. Is this Rat Park or something like that? Rat Park is actually a study on density. It's not a whole idea of freely giving people drugs and stuff like that. It's more complicated than that. The whole rat thing is about the density and population growth and so on. And a lot of these problems do occur And a lot of these situations that occur in these biological differences, like people suddenly, men liking men and stuff like that, happen because of population density. People either get frustrated, people either make more love or more war. And some of that love is made to a male asshole. And sometimes that sort of thing arouses me too. I'm not sure I'm keen on the idea of doing it a lot, but I can't deny what is it's kind of intellectually dishonest to deny what made me thrust or made my flagpole. I don't know what to. I'm trying to think of a good analogy for it. It's the weirdest thing. It's like my cock rise. So it just I'm so better. I'm so much better with frank language. Um, I used to keep it on the down low a little more, and because I didn't want the LGBT to exploit it. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be in that situation. I despise those groups. GLAAD, LGBT, and they attacked the Rocco's Modern Life. Now, if if Ralph became Rachel, and GLAAD had nothing to do with it, this is the whole problem. They brought GLAAD in to get it right, and GLAAD only represents gays and lesbians, not bisexuals or transsexuals, not the last two letters, or of, or queer. Well, they GLAAD is strictly only for those who go with the same sex as the born sex, I think. But they don't know for some reason how they end up specializing in transsexual. So like Joe Murray can't do it on his own. He needs GLAAD to come in and tell him how to write it, tell him how to produce it, tell him to make it, tell him what he did right and what he did wrong. This is Nickelodeon did. They told him he had to have GLAAD there, and I'm not even sure that story is correct. I mean, he probably has a contractual obligation not to shit on what Nickelodeon makes him do in order to have access to his intellectual property, which shouldn't have been. It shouldn't be conditional in the first place. It shouldn't be Nickelodeon's copyright. It should be his copyright. And if it was his copyright and he had full control, like the guy with the Invader Zim to Jonah Vasquez, he should have full ownership over what he created. Now, I understand maybe the distribution of episodes that were already sold to them would be under their purview, but the characters and the show itself, no. Should have the right to shop it out anywhere they want and stuff like that on their own. It shouldn't have anything to do with them. It's so dry. It doesn't even seem dry. It's so dry. Skin's a bit dry even during humidity. I think humidity sometimes comes from people getting sort of their own getting osmosis of their own body liquid. Anyway, this Rocco's Modern Life thing. The moment I saw GLAAD was shoehorned into the project, that's when I realized, yeah, it was woke. I don't care what anyone says in defense of it. It can't be defended because that extremist group, GLAAD, is part of it. GLADD, if you want to look it up. I think it's ADD. It might be double AD. Oh. They inspired the GLAAD tie and toss condom for gays only. Um, yeah, I mean, I have no problem with these characters being involved and stuff. Although Ronald's Monorail Life did focus on a lot of adult themed shit, but largely economic stuff. It didn't really deal with the social factors. I mean, there was this thing with the clown that's used to is conflated to be about closet gayness, but I don't know about anyone having children's. Well, at least before this, as far until homosexuals took over this. What isn't necessarily homosexual. It used to be just people who liked wearing women's clothing, cross-dressing. But now it seems like homosexual certain let's not pedophiles took it over. That's not. That's the problem. They're confused. Pedophiles are taking over the LGBT. They literally are, and they're. I mean, the groups associated with the acronym, and they're trying to normalize their relationships with it. And these people, because they refuse to condemn this drag kid shit, they're letting this happen. Just because they're scared about the drag queens. I mean, yes, some drag queens do lose their fucking mind, but I might go medieval on you, but originally you should bring up the drag queens weren't originally sexuality. It was just people who liked wearing women's clothing. They could like the same sex, the opposite sex, just like pedophiles, which is good to note. But that sort of thing, they could completely separate themselves from this, and they don't do it. I don't know why. They try to bring this probably because it's a big government. They try to amalgamize too many things, and they envelop it all under the gay flag. So in a sense, they do say it's all gay because there are different flags, not just a lousy rainbow flag. Bisexuals have a flag. Even bears have a flag. Uh, yeah, I guess would I have a bear bisexual flag? Should I put a bear paw on it? Should I put the libertarian thing in front of it? Philosophy comes first. That's the message on that one. But yeah, it's the it's a big problem. Back to this cartoon thing. If they didn't have an extremist group from the woke community involved in it, they would have it would have just looked like normal Rocco doing silly shit with silly issues. I haven't seen it, but I'm just going by what I read and the fact that Glad was involved. That's the big ringer. Glad was involved, and if they left lobbying extremist lobbying groups out of it, I mean, there wouldn't be a problem. It's it's that's the sort of thing that's problem. God, it's dry skin's driving me nuts. Um, that's the way the cookie crumbles, I guess. That's yeah. Back to Matthew 19. People who are Christian who badmouth homosexuality or oppose gay marriage, which is fine. I mean, I don't think everyone needs to get married, and certainly wouldn't support the Catholic Church changing their view on it. I don't think the government has any say in any of it. My point of view is that if you can't get them pregnant, why bother? I mean, really, I mean, Jesus. I mean, you might as well enjoy single life until a baby gets involved. I mean, it just makes sense. Uh, I mean, they have nothing on you if you're not pregnant. You're not getting anyone pregnant. It's just the way it is. That's what Matthew 19 kind of says. If you're not going to raise a family, you have no real need to get married. But it's a good thing because there's a lot of divorced right wingers out there. And Matthew 19 is a perfect anecdote for all those people like Gingrich who send faxes to their wives telling them they're not married anymore while they're in the hospital. It's weird. The guy, Phil Collins, and Newt Gingrich had the same divorce story. Ain't that weird? Ain't that fucking weird? Like two very different people, and they did exactly the same thing. It's probably a little more hypocritical on Gingrich's part, though, especially at the time. Uh, Part of the Christian right and all that stuff. So, but that's sums that up. Yeah, so I'm it's a lot of weird things going on. You can always throw me issues at some points here and there you want me to talk about. Sometimes I just forget, and if I compile a list from people who like hear me talk about these things, it's probably a little more easier, a little easier. I don't mind tailoring the topic level to people who watch. And what I say about it is another thing entirely. Um, I'd like them to be a bit interesting though. And nothing's really particularly interesting. Is like, I mean, pedophile islands have kind of not quite broken into the interesting part yet. I mean, finding out everybody's name would be fucking interesting. Finding out indictments, hearing about indictments will be interesting. I mean, that would be fucking crazy. I mean, they're gonna find I mean, they're gonna smash walls and find some sort of bug out bag full of information or something like that. And people are gonna be deep shit. I mean, whoever killed this guy probably end up feeling embarrassed because I mean, they'll probably get indicted anyway because, well, people keep paperwork all over the place. I mean, they really do keep that just in case you kill me note. I mean, that's people like that, especially, people like us, especially. It's very murderers are very short-sighted, or people who hire hitmen are very short-sighted. And I don't consider someone having an abortion a murderer. I don't consider people who hire hitmen murderers. I consider the hitman and the abortion doctor murderers. That's a big distinction because it's always the person who does it. It's like you can't blame the gun you can't blame the gun, you can't blame the video game for the kill because the killer played a video game and had a gun. It's you can't or listen to the music or whatever, or listen to the opinion and some stuff like that. Or I mean, they look for they thrive on not just the fame but also hearing people excuse their acts on the media in the press. And it should always go down to the person who does the crime. And there's a lack of personal responsibility. Like we do create social liberty. We do provide make social liberties happen, and we don't apply responsibility. Except free speech, we make sure we tell people, well, there's a downside to free speech too. You get criticized, blah blah blah. But okay, that means it's perfectly fair for someone watching two men kiss to criticize that, yell for all the fires of hell and so on, and that bullshit. Someone's seeing a woman in a dress, calling herself a woman, calling himself a woman, who's got a protruding Adam's apple and all that other crap, and saying they have no right to do that is the same thing. I mean, it's all a double-edged sword. I mean, and making people pay for the health care associated with your screw-ups, associated with social liberties. That's also wrong. You should be paying for it. I mean, if you're smoking like a chimney, you pay for your cancer treatments. I mean, if you pay for anything, I mean, shit like that. I mean, if so great. Morton Downey Jr. was great. I mean, that guy was dying of cancer, and he said, I smoked cigars all my life. It's my fault. That was so fucking cool. I mean, that guy died with class because of that. Because You know, if you're a lousy drunk and you crash a car, you die, it's your fault. You kill someone, it's your fault. I mean, I agree. Certain penalties are insane, like that whole Oz situation. They turn is an interesting example, and it's probably pretty on ball. You know, a lawyer gets charged with that is so fucking nasty. Oh man, that is fucking nasty. The way that turns out. What happens is Tobias guy, he's a lawyer. He gets drunk. He crashes his car. He's thrown in jail because they want to make an example out of the drunk driver. And he's in a supermax basically, and he ends up getting severely raped by a Negro. Then he ends up going with Aryan nations, thinking they're going to be nice to him. Then they severely rape him, and humiliate, of course. And then he ends up smashing the skinhead's head open and shitting on his head. It's fucking nasty. I mean, that's so got one of the nastiest things ever on TV. There's been some nasty things on TV, but that's like one of the nastiest fucking things. It, that's freaking, freaking. I mean, that whole thing with shitting on the head, you could practically smell that moment. Tell me flopping around dick, so I don't get that shit. It's not necessarily necessary to show all that because you pretty much know from the torso that they're naked. I mean, when the guy uh, crouches down for the shitting, I mean, that's probably pretty necessary because it's not an upper body thing, but shower bits and stuff like that. I mean, that's uh, even a bi man can see too many cocks in one day. But yeah, it's like because usually you're probably about 25, 75, 75 female. Um, Not always. I mean, maybe it's 50-50. Maybe it's a reverse. The 25, 75. But I think you're probably more particular about the man. Because you're more cautious about that because it's very easy to get into a frenzy. But I might be projecting. Libertarians do that too. They project their goodness on people and think, well, no one's a sociopath in a free world. That's why we can't have anarchy because, unfortunately, sociopaths do exist. To an extent, there isn't truly anarchy because if you got a gun and you're allowed to protect your home and stuff like that, you're still enforcing some law. You're enforcing the law of your home and law of your front yard and shit like that. So, it's sort of, I mean, it's sort of a misnomer that there would ever be truly anarchy in any free society. There'll be always some sort of, there's always going to be some sort of vanguard. Now, if it's an effective vanguard or not, when you say my government, my home, my government, in a sense, to some degree, it's not such a bad thing. I mean, if you could separate the electoral college into every household, that would be just amazing. It was like, fuck. And single people wouldn't be wouldn't be screwed over by married and couples of families that would get counted because they're more numerous. But yeah, I mean that would be a huge improvement, and that would focus more on the individual. I mean, certainly the individual property area, the individual renter, which is to me is a temporal property owner. I mean, you're pretty much owning it as long as your agreement to rent the place is existent. I mean, because You still have to be guaranteed privacy rights and stuff like that. And you're still paying for it. I mean, paying the agreed allotted amount. I mean, if you refuse to pay rent after a few months, that's over here. That should be over anyway. But in a place like BC, you end up with a real hard time getting rid of those people. They're practically getting legal squats at points, and they wonder why the rent is so fucking expensive. Really? I mean, look at your freaking policies over the back. Liberal, NDP, way back. Every government, every election, stretching back 40 years maybe, has been building up government and been building up authority and building up costs on the private property owner. And you wonder why it's putting people out of house of home. Yeah, that's that. Don't pat yourself on the fucking back because you're speaking about wanting it better. Especially when you speak about wanting it better by adding more authority, spending more money like the mayor of Vancouver's decided to do. $1 billion plan to house a few people. Oh yeah, I'm sure that's going to be worth it. That means the taxpayer will probably end up paying $1 million a month for the rent in bureaucracy and all other shit. Not to mention the debt involved. And so we got a AAA debt worrying, yeah, because they like you having that debt because you're going to fucking owe them. And a taxpayer is going to fucking owe them. It's fucking leverage, you asshole. You're selling everybody out to fucking leverage of usury. It's fucking insane. There's a debt culture out there. No, it's one thing when you have a certain degree of credit and stuff like that. It's impossible to not live that way, but governments go way beyond that. And some people go way beyond it too. This endless how. But I mean, if they did things right governmentally, places wouldn't cost so much that you'd have to get huge loans for them. It's insane. And there's preset interest rates. Why is the government setting interest rates? Government shouldn't set interest rates. Should fucking liberate that. Central bank bullshit. The Fed, Bank of Canada, Bank of England. That's the one thing. That's the one thing that one could criticize the Hungarian Prime Minister for too. So bank centralization. Now, I don't think it's wrong that the government have a currency and that they print it out, but maybe it should be linked to something practical. Like you can only print so much per tree available to make into paper. That would be a good thing environmentalists could say because just protect the tree resources. Because you are not going to want to overcut because you're going to want that resource to exist later on. You're going to want to replant the trees too, and manage the forest well on a private sector level. Because the dollar is dependent on the fact that these trees keep growing back again. There are things like that that could be done to get private sector interest in environmental cleanup or environmental benefit. My God, is that so insane? I mean, yeah, it'd probably be hard to list it to total cleanliness, but like air pollution stuff, it's rather hard to quantify all of that to a degree, but you can quantify how many trees are on the tree farming operations. There's a public parks should be tree farms, privately run tree farms, under a dispensation, and that would be possible if you did have a tree linked to your currency. So, I mean, you're not going to want them burning down. You're not going to want them getting overcut. But, there'll be enough around for paper and shit like that. And I'm not really fond of hemp paper. I'm an old-fashioned pulp paper guy. I don't think that was ever a threat to Hearst. I don't think anything is ever a threat to Hearst. That Hearst Corporation seems to be rather fearless about shit. And very big on power brokering, of course, is true, but theirs was more creating propaganda for war-hungry governments. That was mostly their shit. The need for pulp mill. I mean, they would have bought all the hemp in the world and sold it if they thought it was practical for paper. I don't believe that shit for a minute. That's just some stoner talk. That's ridiculous stoner talk. That's why I always had problems with them, because they always had such worst arguments for it. I the best argument was because of liberty, and that wasn't even quite good if you're going to speak outside the traditional liberty crowd. I mean, you got kind of have to reach out to outside that. You have to tell them, like, show them it's not the harmful thing you think it is and stuff like that. It's just very smelly, and you don't want other people doing it around you, I guess. But there are vaporizers and stuff like that that minimize the smell, and you can show them that, and you can show them, okay, we'll do it that way. There was no reason to have edibles illegal. I was a little concerned about the pollen thing, though. Pollen seems to be toxic, and when there's too much of it grown in one area. But that's a whole other story. That's growing, and that's probably the downside to the Larry Sharp concept. Um, Growing it like regular produce, because regular produce isn't the same thing. It's not a weed, and it doesn't strangle. Those things don't tend to strangle other plants, and there's no toxic pollen in most produce. It's usually not the case. No, I say toxic pollen when it comes to highly consolidated areas. I mean, like, if you got a lot of it in an area, and you don't really want that plant to be out of control, or that weed to be out of control. You don't want any weed out of control, actually. Fucking dandelions everywhere, and it isn't a good thing either. But yeah, I mean, people, they never use the proper arguments and stuff like that, and that's why things were so slow. And they were also willing to compromise, and then they bitch that they got the compromise. I wasn't willing to compromise, so it's either all illegal or illegal. I mean, there's none of this decriminalized. That's what we got decriminalization in Canada. We got it at other places where they still had edibles, and the edibles were probably the least harmful to second parties. They didn't smell up anyone's air or anything like that. Jesus. Oh, you got a little bourbon open near someone. It's like, it's not like blocks of cloud or anything like that. It settles down to it eventually. But yeah, I mean, there are ways to minimize things like that, and it is a nasty, acrid smell. That's fucking horrible. Yeah, but yeah, it was largely bad arguments. This is what took so long. It was a half-baked. I mean, it was stoner arguments. It's all stoner arguments. Stoner arguments, and liberty arguments. So they're just dogmatically liberty. Don't work because it's like any dogmatism. People just it's libertarians trying to be ideologues, and that doesn't work. It just doesn't fucking work. Um, and it's something intellectually dishonest about that too. And weed people are so upset with it. It sounds like a cult when they talk about it, and that's really, really bad. I mean, I'm not talking about guys who just do it occasionally, a little bit now and then. Those aren't weed people. They tend to make more sense, but a lot of them aren't like that. At least a lot of the ones I came across. A lot of them are so obsessed they name a political party after their fucking shit. And it's, I mean, you never ever saw a cocaine party or tobacco party. I mean, some argue the Republican Party was a tobacco party, but that's the other thing too, a free speech issue and advertising. The fact they ban advertising, the booze and weed and stuff like that on anywhere. It's like, okay, you say it's legal, but you say they can't sell it to anybody. And advertisement doesn't. It just moves people to a new brand. It doesn't move people to a new product. If you're not doing it, you're not going to do it because of an ad. If you are doing it, you're going to do the other brand because of an ad. That's the way things work. That's always been the way things work. That's how advertising works. They're trying to beat a competitor in the same market. They're not trying to create new customers. It's a much more difficult thing to do. New customers find things and take an interest in on their own by seeing things near on a counter or something like that. That's a storefront thing. It's well, word of mouth advertising. That's usually the strongest method of getting new customers for something. Yeah, that's I don't know what to say. I guess I do know what to say, but now we're in 11 minutes. It says AL song. Most Koreans made an interesting set of small programs. AL Song, AL FTP. I still use these AL programs. I still use Jask, Paint Shop Pro, and stuff too. Really. I love those old Paint Shop Pros. Everything got worse when Corel bought everything, and when Microsoft bought everything, and all that shit. Tumblr's suffering huge losses. Kinja's suffering huge losses. Kinja was interesting. It seemed like something that could have been a good platform for cross between maybe like a daily cost cross between public blog and a news source. They had to get so dogmatically leftist. It's so horrifying. Really, I mean, their best people was this guy Fahey. May rest in peace, and Rogers on Kotaku. They're like two guys. One guy only shows up in E3, and one guy was just really cool because he had a good taste in Transformers. Well, I didn't like Beast Wars terribly much, but I mean, he brought up a lot of classic G1 Transformer shit, which was kind of cool. So, yeah, I mean, and he wasn't big on preaching liberal bullshit either. He was cool. And neither is Rogers. I mean, Rogers just, I mean, he doesn't get ultra offensive, but he makes cute quips about E3 and shit like that. Of course, you know, he will die hungry if he relies on Kotaku. It's every year. He has other places, I guess, but I don't know. That Kotaku might be bad for reputation now. Kinja in general. Imagine going behind something that's based on Gawker of all things. That's the worst thing. Gawker was a spy thing. It's like something of a kind of a conservative thing because that's what conservative media was all about when it starts. Like I guess TMZ falls in the category, but I think it was the hard copy thing, the News Corp thing originally. News Corp was like all that nosy bullshit, you know, digging through the trash, yellow journalism. Not minding your own business. You know, like Christian conservatives like to do, you know, window peeping. And So that's what Gawker was, and Gawker had started out with this app where you could tell them where a celebrity was. They're just trying to privately have a coffee and shit. And, it was one thing that they used the app themselves to report their identity, their location to somewhere. I doubt that would happen. I mean, I was there for snoops who didn't mind their own fucking business. And that's disgusting. That's a disgrace. I mean, the idea that they even managed to grow from there is just disgraceful. Uh, it'd be kind of good if that one part of the website was completely different. And I/O used to be just about science. Then they started showing science fiction and comic books, and yeah, they all started kind of also lose their direction because they didn't stick to their specialty. They started mixing around. You go to the Kotaku Facebook page and you see I/O there with a and shit like that. And video game. It was a you thought it was a video game thing. It was comic book shit and gadgets, which was Gizmodo. I suppose comic books did fit in Kotaku too, but I know it was kind of shitty, but it didn't always. It wasn't always totally shitty. I mean, they didn't have so many blue hairs as they did recently, and they started losing more and more of their people. Well, the last one died, I guess. That was Faye, a Canadian and a Mudjar. Yeah. um, yeah, it just got really horrible. But even back then, it was like us versus Gamergate and stuff like that. Really? I mean, I'm still harping Gamergate, even though the founder, I guess, was like Mr. Metacore, the talk guy now with toxic male clips too, I guess now. He internet aristocrat over. He started that whole thing, I think, and he disavowed it at some point because it got too crazy. I guess. I guess it's possible. Comicgate totally did with the like war campaign shit, and lower themselves to the tactics of the enemy. As it said, these things were supposed to be like libertarian, consumer-focused movements, and it just became about us versus them ideologue bullshit. But it was kind of pushed into it. But I think a lot of them. I think a lot of it just died because Sarkeesian was kind of nothing anymore. Zoe Quinn was nothing. Although if the Gamergate was paying attention, they would have known Zoe Quinn was being propped up by Vertigo, which is really weird. And Vertigo had Hellblazer, shit like that. Nothing frou-frou and feminist. It's kind of pathetic now. But when they become irrelevant, being people like Sargon and stuff become real, and Boogie, and I'm not familiar too much with Boogie, but I know he started out with that Armenian Circassian shit too, and they all lost their relevance when she lost her relevance. Very few of them managed to hold on because they were all dependent on these nasty feminists harping on them like that, and it was the only thing that kept them interesting because they weren't necessarily as funny as they thought they were and shit like that. And that's the way things were, and they specialized, and the specializations. That's probably why quartering was smart. Jeremy, the anti-thought prude. I want to fuck a chick on Twitch and dedicate it to Jeremy happily. It's everything. Dedicated to quartering, but he was smart because he he expanded a bit. Although he didn't spend enough time on Midwest League, I don't think. So if you split up his time on Midwest League, so he probably would. Not only would he have been able to spend a little more time looking into certain issues, but he'd probably be able to. He wouldn't have to worry about being ratioed endlessly. And lately, just going crazy. Oh, I need to ask my. It's insane. He asked his live chat what he should do, and I don't think he actually did it. And he just ended up falling back on it. He was supposed to do like a '90s nostalgia toy thing for a while, and he didn't do it. I want to talk about the Transformer Ecto-1 he's got behind him. That looks cool. I just learned about that recently on the Hasbro thing, and like, fuck, man. Hasbro's, this is like giant fucking. I thought about it. This giant fucking. Let's say you got a minimum 6 per person too. It's giant Unicron, and it's fucking crazy. Yeah, I mean, that thing is that thing would take up most of my living room, and I have to sleep. I consider my living room where I sleep involuntarily, but it's where I literally live. Roommate gets the bedroom because well, cable jack is in this room, and it's the only place I can put the TV. Oh, I could put the TV back there, but no, the TV's got to be in the living room. Somehow I just think it should be in the living room. And therefore I am too, because Switch and stuff goes there too. And hell, if I have to fall asleep, I'd rather be in an easy chair than a bed. I don't like a bed. And yet I still see as tall as I am. Twirl my beard, not my mustache. So it'll make me less evil or more evil. So, what are you doing? Oh, I'm in love with a weird mermaid. Remember that? Was it Beachcomber is a other transformer that's water oriented. I can't remember his name. Restore. He sounds like this. Oh, like he's got balls in his throat. So we kind of talk about transhumanism. Actually, it's like transhumanism, sexual. His Cybertronian robot who wants to fuck a mermaid woman. It's like, oh, what kind of level of perversion is that? Exactly. I mean, was this a kids show? Granted, there was no. He didn't pull out he didn't pull out his vibrator, but I mean, he wanted to make her the Olita one. He's Olita one. Yeah, I can't believe that was never bitched about. I mean, there were already female Transformers, and they got rid of a whole bunch of those chicks, and they were really good ones too. And what did we end up with? I mean, RC was kind of okay. That was one. And then you have Windblade, which is what? I mean, it wasn't. Shit's not that great. I mean, Windblade ain't that great. It isn't even that great of a air vehicle either. I don't know. It'll just show you the best ones. They're there organically. They're there because they needed. They're there because there's an AC to a DC. You know, I gotta have that shit. That's the way things are. And these things are organic. They don't get forced. It's ridiculous to get forced. Pardon me. It's hard to hear me now. Go on listening to this. I hear you. I'm on Steam. It does quite the breathing. Podbean is up OGGs. 100 kilobytes. Stereo. Wait for the kettle to start. Wow. The kettle goes up to... Steam is a very loud sound. Seems very low. It's highly condensed. And pressure. Certain pressure. Sidetracked a bit. Yeah, Patriot Act. Patriot Act is a very ignored thing now. They just let it go on and on and on. They're trying to twist things into required ICE and stuff. Before they had the INS, it was no different. They just hold borders hostage for espionage purposes. They torture purposes and shit like that. You know, you don't see Cortez going around. Kizu Cortez, is it? There's other assholes, supposedly anti-war and shit, but they're not anti-Patriot Act. They're not on the record as anti-Patriot Act. Patriot Act doesn't become much of an issue with anybody. Not even Bill Weld or he's trying to run against Trump right now. Guess it's not going to be a Republican debate. Super delegate system, the Democrats don't make a fuss about it either. It's like everything just keeps on going the same way. Same way. They pretend they're all about change. All about progress. Stationary progress. Kind of one that doesn't move. aside from planetary axial rotation. Try to beat that one. Patriot Act should be brought up as a major issue. I don't know, who would you bring it up? Williamson? She read it up in a crystal. If, if Trump repeals the Patriot Act tomorrow, he'd ensure himself a landslide. As a certainty. I mean, shut down the DHS and the that extended airport crap. And they decided to open up a rape room in the airport. Used to be a finger, and now it's a fist. This is a lot of to think. I mean, imagine saying, we violate everyone's rights with the CIA and NSA, and thinking that just wasn't enough. I mean, how does anyone say anyone's worse than George Bush Senior, Jr.? How does anyone say it was worse than that? Christ. Granted, I mean, the fact they don't change it kind of makes them bad. Particularly Congress. I mean, Congress isn't always on his side. At least they said so. And they'll put the hate on him, and suddenly it's like, yeah, we kind of like, they don't, we kind of just want to put our feet up. The left, right is like status quo, anti-status quo is really what you just have. It's I'm looking at my dog panting here. This green bar going up. That's incredible. That is some voice. That is just him panting. So you're going up and down as he pants. And then I start talking. That's a bit louder. Right, boy? Why is it no one saying stop taxing individuals? That's a simple enough thing. End all taxes on individuals and eliminate all methods of businesses getting out of taxes. All the rebates and tax credits and corporate welfare and corporate tax cuts and all that shit. Just get rid of all that stuff. All those write-offs and flatten that corporate tax and get rid of the individual tax, and then you'll be certain that Amazon will end up paying taxes. And they won't leave. They won't leave because their customers aren't paying taxes, and that's good enough for them. There's more. There's going to be a lot more expendable income as a result, and that's the important thing. People will be buying stuff. And they don't talk about that. They don't. They really think individualism is so bad, but individualism isn't corporatism. It isn't corporations. Individualism isn't. It's like simple private mom and pop shit stuff like that. Private companies who run free speech internet platforms, stuff like that's the sort of thing you find. That's the sort of thing that happens. Um, the fact that these Twitter and stuff are linked to the government on the SEC, you'd think the SEC would enforce the Constitution on them. So you can't fundraise using this casino of ours if you're going to or platform. And the government can always say the SEC can always call it NASDAQ platform and ban them from trading because they don't support the Constitution that governs that governed body. It's one way of doing it. Back when these things were private companies, they weren't doing that shit. Or it seems like ethics drops when people start trading on the Dow Jones. That index, this index. It's so way things go. Collectivism makes things worse. The larger your group, the larger your business, the worse things get, the more bureaucratic things get, the more you start relating to government. Start helping that become bigger, because it helps you get bigger and helps you destroy competition, because these regulations you bring up, you're somehow okay with, makes it harder for the new guy to start. Because the new guy doesn't have the money and the lawyers to figure out the regulations. And that should be extended to tariffs too. We shouldn't get rid of tariffs. They should just bar it from being used on individuals. Just have a no individuals tax, and no loopholes for collective groups. So, aside from that of religious practice, of course. Religious freedom. Because you can't have the church and state meshing at any level. The moment you start taxing churches, the churches start having a say. That's the whole point. And you don't want them to have a say. That's why they start wanting to have the intersectionals declared a church, so they better not get taxed, but they won't have a say either. And it just says it's somewhat clever in another sense. It's like, yeah, you want to really legitimize a cult that much? And it's a tricky game, that one. But at least they'd still be able to believe their horse shit. They just wouldn't be able to pass any legislation on it. But, yeah, that's the problem. And I can say there's old time I wouldn't believe people who say that white supremacists are kind of on the all-time low. No, they're on the down low. That's the thing. We've ran into this censorship climate that pushed them underground. That's the whole point about opposing censorship even against them, because it pushes them underground. So one day you're going to see them come back. They're going to be vengeful, even more angry, more frustrated. They've been recruiting well because of all the censorship, thanks to social media. I swear, woke is a white supremacist recruitment program. It's a shame. I'll try to get cut to the chase and then things to say. Probably better if I had a list, maybe, but I'm also more conversational than I am a speaker, I guess, to some degree. I mean, when I stand up and speak in a debate, I guess I am, but even that's somewhat conversational. There's other people there. This stuff's it's a little more fun, actually. Sort of talking to a wall, essentially. Maybe it would be a little different when there are more subscribers and shit like that. Or bookmarkers. It's not hard to know if people have bookmarks. Or window notifications too. Oh, that'd be fucking annoying. So, let's see. I thought of streaming myself reading Bastard's Law or something on Twitch. Reading a book on Twitch seems like a funny thing to do. But I don't think they like books on Twitch. They like burning books on Twitch. That's a whole problem too. You go to this video game world, and the video game world has been big on fucking up the journalism world, and these companies going woke and stuff like that. And then they wonder why the president's going to start bad-mouthing their industry after a shooting. You set yourself up for it, baby. You screwed us all. The president gets this idea about censoring video games. You know where he learned it? He learned it from watching you, Kotaku. He learned it from watching all you blue hairs and you trans lunatics. Trans lunatic, that's a good word. Yeah. Did you know that Christ was trans? He's transubstantiated. Trans. What is it? That's a great acronym. That's a great short form. It's transhumanism, Transylvania, transcendental, transubstantiation, which is Christ becoming the water and wine. If you're Catholic, you probably knew this, but not everyone's a Catholic. Oh, by the way, I gotta apologize. I completely read Goldie wrong. Goldie, this, Goldie, what's her name? What's her last name? Anyway, I always heard Goldie saying she was a Catholic, a Canadian right-wing lunatic, religious right-wing nut. She's a member of the Greek Rite. That ain't Catholic. That's more akin to the Presbyterians. They are anti-Catholic religion, very anti-Catholic. They use papists in their fucking edicts. And the rights are actually associated with groups like the Klan. In fact, the American right was where the Klan came from. So I guess it is fair to call her a white nationalist. Or an olive nationalist, maybe. She's that type of Greek. Greek right and Scottish right. I guess I guess the Greek right and Scottish right agree on fucking sheep, and the American right just changed the pigs. Um, called. We're talking about Greek right. We're talking about like Caucasus Mountain Christian shit. It's like it's very hard line, nutty shit. She's into. She seems like a little on edge. Like she doesn't. She tries to force herself to believe it. And she talks about vanity and stuff, and I don't think I mean, if those lips are real, it's impressive. But I mean, there's got to be surgery behind those fat fucking lips on her. Because got to be surgery on that. You don't get dick lips like that by accident. I mean, that would be very rare. You don't get dick lips like that by accident. What the fuck's that bitch's last name? Oh, what the fuck was her last name? So I remember Goldie. It's Goldie's. Gold. It's like, was she a stripper at some point or something? It's just like a stripper. It's like went ultra Christian conservative one day because she got radicalized because she always didn't like what you did or something like that. And she just blew up one day and lost her nut and hit the wall. And any other analogies for that? Or any other terms for that? It's really weird. Goldie. It's like a name for a. It's like a name you give a freaking. It's like an unimaginative name for a golden retriever. That's how do you set someone right by naming them Goldie? I know my name's Gurluk. Gurluk. My name's weird, but it's not that kind of weird. It's an artist drawing something on a bench weird. It's creative weird. It's, you know. I know Goldie. Yeah, I know Goldie. Goldie. Yeah, she's gonna be pissed that I forgot her name. Her last name too. Hoffman. Yeah, Hoffman. Goldie Hoffman. She can be pretty funny. She's like she's like Carrie. She's like Carrie Wedler. You know, in some ways. She has an interesting history too. She's a comedian. She's probably more interested in skit stuff. Pleasant girl. Go. What the fuck's it? Oh, she's a PPC supporter. I can't remember. Goldie something. She's a supporter of anything that says kick the immigrants out. She's got the worst arguments to defend herself with too. It's like, come on, every time I see you talk, I'm buying it less. It's like, fuck. Greek. The Greek church. Greek right. Scotch school to Hungarian right, or something like that. Yeah, it's, I'm not any of that. No, Jerry, not any of that. Ooh, on the bow. I don't know what to say. I'll do anything to anyone. That was a conservative dick sucking lips for. I mean, you always either wound up conservative chicks or fucking, oh, that chick's freaky. That chick's gonna fuck freaky. It's like a fucking orgy chick or something like that. Voluntary cookie. Speaking of which, politics is a circle jerk, man. This is one of my favorite jokes. I called it sort of. I went out and when I was running for mayor. It's like this is a fucking circle jerk. My friend who was also running to ran a deed found that amusing. But yeah, it's a circle. Is it the voters is cookie, and then the political types are all surrounding them jerking off, and it's a waking the voters with this cookie waking up from this groggy, this waking up all groggy from this Cosby cocktail and regretting taking that pudding and getting sploshed by everybody on every side. It's basically politics. They're fucked by ideologue spray. It's like fuck, and that's not an analogy of patriarchy. That's squirting too. That's all. That's a whole. It's an all-inclusive diversity is our strength circle jerk. It's like fuck. You wake up covered in that jizz. You start running, wondering what happens, and that's when people start walking away. And I say walk away because I don't want to. I don't care for Turning Point. I never walked away. I was always libertarian. Maybe more or less, as I more and more as I libertarian about stuff as I got older. But definitely the individualist. BC Individualist. BCIndividualist.org is a website where I tend to put political articles on there, but I still end up putting a joke or two in. You can go huffingluepost.com for satire. It's blackjester.com is a comic website, sort of a portal to a few of these things. Blackjestermatters.com, of course, the podcast audio stuff, and I'm on Float, Gab, Minds as the Black Jester. Facebook is the official Black Jester, something like that. A lot of these will get links to that too. You can go to the realm of the Mental Midget Slayer. The easiest ULR is notkotaku.com. And why? Because it's notkotaku.com. I can't believe I looked at and got that thing. You can almost do realm.mentalmidgetslayer.com, but that's very long. Notkotaku.com. There's domanal.com, which is my game, the slave master. I just got the domain for the fun of it. There's also bylabia.com. I just got some .coms for fucking funny. Just for fun, and because also those letters are somehow SEO benefits, the L's and M's or something like that. N's. At least that's what they generate. That's what the search thing said. Let me tell. So yeah, Slave Master ain't perfect, but it's to the point. It's old school and it's funny, and it's not encumbered by endless cutscenes. You actually get a chance to play most of it. That's the worst thing about games now. More and more games have just been cutscene after cutscene. Even Magic Spells and Final Fantasies became mostly just a giant movie, and you just spend 5 minutes waiting for an Esper to unlock, Esper to get cast. Fuck that shit, man. Give me Final Fantasy 4. I like 9 and all, but I mean those spells just take so much time out of your gaming day. It's just insane. So yeah, it's like really important game scene. Like, I mean, maybe if you're seeing the fire blast on the ship, it's kind of nice, maybe. But there were a lot of nice story scenes too in the other thing, but it happened faster because it wasn't this massive movie shit. It was just like Guloof walking into the room and seeing Ferris in her actual gender at the time. Oh. It recognized that Ferris was a female. He didn't. Guloof was being transphobic about the cross-dressing pirate, and said it was a female. Didn't say trans women or men. Great sin. Even though, I mean, the female prominence in that game was 50-50. It's still transphobic. And they wonder why some feminists are pissed off at them. Rachel Murphy is basically hating on everything female because of the really worst thing about that. You try bleeding every month out of fucking cramps and shit like that. Any cramps and shit like that when you're cross-dressing all that time? Not even bothering to get the Blair White fuck makeover. I mean, Christ, why? Hell, society dragged into such a situation. Really? It's it's plenty of wrong. It's plenty of wrong. It's very wrong. Let's see. Any other websites about? Well, is no, the body of this thing will probably list everything, including crypto addresses and stuff like that. You can like it, retweet, repost it if you want. Quote me anytime. The tribute, of course. I mean, it's always good. So repost, share somewhere else, and what have you. This should be on BitChute, Float, and YouTube. I mean, some of it, I'm not sure. Maybe BitChute will process this one. Didn't process the last one. And hopefully this video isn't too echoed. Some videos had the last podcast had so much echoes. It's just terrible. Although that was because the fan was on, freezing me too. But nonetheless, it's I got Teespring shirts as a Cafe Press shop. Swag galore. You know, it's got swag. Well, options to donate and stuff like that. Possibly get something like that, but I guess. I mean, effectively speaking, you get a lot of people parroting some things you might believe too. That's something too. You get people willing to stick their neck out. People being able to stick their neck out. It can be expensive, this cause of liberty. It really can be. Because I mean, they always think libertarians are rich, but not really. They're not really rich. Because it costs a lot to. You still have to live, and you have to take a lot of time out that could be going to making more money. But we don't. We usually are trying to get our name out, trying to get our philosophy out there by putting our neck out in elections and stuff like that. Which is important too. That getting the word out that I'll need signatures in my constituency of Vancouver East, and it's also important to vote. It is important to vote because it scares the living hell out of them if they see large numbers of people voting, especially when they see large numbers of people not voting for them. And that's the thing. Uh, Liberty does better with a higher turnout. It's actually true. I've noticed this in elections. And lower turnouts help socialists win, and the first will help greater, more authoritarian types win. Authoritarians benefit highly from low turnouts. I mean, people say you shouldn't vote, doesn't work, but that's exactly why it doesn't work. I mean, not saying necessarily we'll get our perfect candidates winning, but it's more likely. I mean, it's more likely we're going to get the word out, and we're going to see debates with people with these ideas and stuff like that. Because it's really easy to dismiss people and dismiss philosophies if they have no showing in an election. Now, a lot of people who might have voted for me too in the mayoral elections, and then they decide not to go, and that ends up rather embarrassing for the philosophy. I mean, I stuck my neck out. I voted for myself, so I'm not embarrassed. I mean, you don't have to run. You should be happy enough about that. I mean, be happy enough someone else is willing to be sent out there to take all that flack, run, make the statements, speeches, support the cause of liberty, and it's like it's a lot better than. I mean, are you going to do it? You can at least make sure they have a good showing. And granted, if they can, I can probably get 50% of the vote, and I could decide maybe because let's say I do get 50% of the vote, and the turnout is low, just for the sake of argument. It still makes them feel comfortable enough to report the numbers their way. Because it's a secret ballot, you see. And a secret ballot, unless there's a huge 90% showing at the polls, they can pretty much feel comfortable, at least, feel safe and comfortable making up the election results. You gotta talk more with your neighbors about how you vote and stuff like that, because that's a good way to realize how suspicious some of the reporting might be and stuff like that. And people are made to be afraid to say how they voted. They're afraid that the vote won't be secret, which is stupid. That's exactly what they want. They want you to be afraid not to stick your neck out that much. They want you to be afraid that someone will know you voted for something, because they don't want you telling anybody. If you're telling anybody, then the people will start questioning the vote numbers. When they question the vote numbers, then that might be some mess. Might be a mess. That might be trials. That's the thing with secret. I'm against the secret ballot because I think we should know how they are counting our votes. And I don't really think I really care much about people who are too cowardly to stick by what they believe. They don't have to run. They don't have to make huge speeches. But damn. If you're too afraid to say anything, you're part of the problem. And I'm not saying if you're not with us, you're against us. I'm saying You gotta at least say something. And be honest. Liar and anonymous are about the same thing. Omission isn't. I will grant omission is just omission. It's wrong to say omission's a lie. I mean, it's just omission just means someone's just too daft to bother asking the right questions, or someone asks a personal question about how you make your money. I mean, that's so tacky. Talking about how you make your money. It's very tacky. I mean, some things are obvious. But other than that, I mean, if there's no way of finding out on some obvious way. That's the one thing I won't even be serious about on Facebook and shit like that. Well, I like to joke around my Facebook profile because it screws up their algorithm and their data mining operations. It's a lot better than putting a privacy panic speech on it. I wouldn't object and joke about it. Just joke around on my profile as much if I got a cut of the action. If they're just collecting average demographic data off me, but if they're gonna sell to third parties, I should get a royalty on that. Should at least be offered a royalty in return for accepting it. It's not too much to ask. Facebook's a problem too. I mean, well, all these platforms with videos and stuff like that. And monetization is an interesting thing. What they should do is they should give advertisers full control over who they advertise on and who they don't. Right to the account. Not keywords and shit like that. That's just. But if I were to advertise on YouTube, I'd want to advertise on specific channels. It's just how I'd do it. I'd want to do that. I wouldn't want to. I don't want to be told I can't advertise on the channel. I don't mind. I wouldn't mind if but it ends up on the quartering, or I have a game to sell. I guess I want to put an ad on a less PC gaming channel. Just makes sense. And they're not all. And they're not all. So, but I might have wanted to put it on the Jimquisition just because he had a funny rant about one of my trailers. I can't believe I'm saying good things about Jimquisition, and I don't think he had good intent in doing that. I just liked it. I just thought it was amusing. Because probably don't take myself as seriously as some of the lefties. That's the thing, That's why you find less people wanting to censor speech from the right and libertarians, because these are people who laugh at themselves. I used to watch Limbaugh all the time. I didn't agree with him a lot, but he laughed at himself a lot, and he laughed. He had a good sense of humor. He told jokes and stuff like that. This ain't new stuff. This happened in the 90s and stuff. And I don't know, maybe he'd have a funny amusement over the fact that he's now foregoing character and supporting characters in the White House. Because it's the reverse of what he had said about Clinton. If he applied that character, not characters, to Trump, he'd be bad-mouthing Trump to no end. But yeah, it's on this whole gun thing, red flags, and bill. There's this other bill. He's trying to copped it out. This Crenshaw guy. I don't know how he had the character to be a SEAL, and he's weaseling like this shit. But I don't care what the flack is for calling him out like that. I'd ask the same question about in the same foxhole. That's it's almost suspicious in a way. I don't want to question that shit, but Can I even look it up? Look up seal records? No. Right, classified. So how the fuck do I know? It could be a gimmick or lie. Usually they don't volunteer that information. Usually someone else blurts it out or lets it out. No. It was a while before Ventura was known of that on that level. Yeah, it was. I mean, they knew by the time he ran. Well, I mean, not when he ran, won the mayor race. But anyway, yeah, so Clinton supports this act, and it's all about presumption of guilt, of course, which is, of course, a great constitutional thing, and which is something you expect from someone who decides to defend the Constitution of the United States by his own vow, to deny anyone presumption of innocence. Red flag laws are the same way. This Tuft Act, or what, is it Tad Act? I had to look it up. He was mentioning a Crowder. I looked it up. That's what you should do when I mention acts. You should look it up by name, number, or whatever. Usually you find it. And it's just all presumption of guilt stuff. And that's what most government laws are: presumption of guilt. They presume you're going to do something bad with something, and that's why they want to throw you in jail. Not because you do something bad. They want to treat you like a hero at that point. They want to, spread your name on the news, blame the gun for it, blame the video game, blame everything else. Bunch of cock-swilling bullshit. And it was an interesting question of extreme right wing. What is extreme right wing? Well, I'll tell you what extreme right wing is. It isn't Nazism. That's National Socialism. That's a left wing thing. And Klan, that's the left wing thing. What is a right wing extremism is monarchism and oligarchism. And to an extent, theocracy. Well, theocracy. Yeah. Religious zealotry, that stuff. Governing people by Jesus and Allah and all that other shit. Governing people, well, Allah is standard God by Muhammad. Let's say Muhammad, not Allah. Allah is the one and true God, and that's all monotheisms have that in some form of name and linguistic character discretion. Anywho, take a look at the description for links and stuff. Try to like, share, and all that other stuff. Donate if you want. Whatever, it's your free will. You do what the hell you want with it. Have a good night. Don't drink and drive. Or morning. Good night, morning, afternoon. Don't drink and drive. Drink first and drive if you need both hands on the wheel. Thank you very much for listening. And, bye.